Hello, everyone. So I wanted to share my discussion on YouTube today just because I think it's a great opportunity to be able to use technology since we're going to be talking about it so much. I first wanted to talk about the use of basically the increased pressures that we're seeing within technology. So the whole thing around technology, in my opinion, is that by expanding these technologies, we are offering a wider range of access of education to people, not just locally but globally. But there's definitely a risk in this factor of the pressure to implicate technology. And some things we're seeing, or that I'm personally seeing in my institute, is the lack of comprehension of the technology. So people just not even understanding basic technologies, the use of email, the use of logons, and then also the availability. So especially where I teach in northern rural Alberta, some of the struggles that we see with the pressure of putting technology into our classrooms, or even implementing it more so with the the online textbook and these databases that we're using, is that people don't have the funds to purchase technology that's compatible with it. Some students can only afford an iPhone, or some people have gone off and bought like MacBook Pros when some of our systems that we use in our institute only work on PC. So the funds to buy the proper technology in order to access learning from home, as well as internet access. We work with a lot of communities that don't even have access to internet, and I know that's very strange for people in urban settings, but if I drive to my next major city, so in Edmonton, I have at least an hour drive where I do not have the access to the internet. So if I get in some kind of issue with my vehicle, like I have no way to call people to tell them that I'm stranded. I basically have to wait for a vehicle to drive by or get out and walk. And on days like today, it's actually -40 here. I can't do that. So that's my idea, like, around technology. And in some cases, I'm looking at within my institute, we are trying to implement new technologies like the new Collaborate that's coming out. We've used WIDS, and then even Windows 19. Windows 19 is launching, and our IT department is trying to find the best ways to teach our teachers on the new changes. So those are some challenges that I'm seeing, with the push of technology, is that operation skills, student engagement as well. It's hard to teach through virtual learning, to engage on Collaborate, or even with VC on the other end, access and then understanding of these technologies. And I do feel that sometimes, when you're watching a pre-recorded session, if you don't have access to get into your lecture right at that moment, you lose those teachable moments because students are asking questions, or students miss that opportunity for those asked questions if you're just doing recorded sessions. Now, on the other half of the spectrum, the opportunities. We're seeing way more increased learning communities with our students. Just as on one of the TED Talks, the female platform artists had said, we're creating a greater expansion of learning communities. It's not just happening in Alberta or in your town, it's happening throughout the provinces and territories and globally as well. So you're definitely opening up that range to have more access, more technology at the use of our fingertips, having that learning on the go. I can learn from my bathtub, I can learn from sitting right here in my office. I have access everywhere. So wider range of students equals more thought process, which is great, because then I think you really build on that critical thinking when you have more people contributing to a question that's put out by the instructor, or a question that's put out in your learning. So Goldie, from one of our readings, had said that educators need to adapt to these new environments. And we may have to access new ways of doing things, thinking about new theories, thinking about new teaching philosophies, in order to help wrap ourselves around the learning, and then how to produce it for these new global techno learners, is what I'm going to call them. So those are some really great things, as well as from Watson & Watson. I think even though we want to make this accessible to people, we need to also take a step back and think about the learning that needs to happen. I mean, as an educator myself, I have students coming in who know the technology more than I do. So I think technology is great, but we need to be prepared for it. So everybody needs to be trained in it and everybody needs to learn it. So that's why I chose to come on today, is because there's new ways to learn things. I am going to do a little bit of a flip here, and I want to just show some things that I am using, or my institute we use in our class with the technology, because not only is it formal, but YouTube offers learning, and especially in the practical area that I teach in, I think that's really important. Now I have a recorded video, so I'm just going to have to flip it this way. So here's the lack of technology use, but the use of YouTube. So while this is great that our students can go on and get more enriched learning, it's also scary because you're gonna have people out there who thinking they can just learn from a video how to cut hair, and when that is not the case. But I wanted to jump into an example of our Moodle site that we use for our students. Now, of course, this is going to be backwards for you guys because here's my lack of technology, but we have embedded learning right into our lectures as well. Is that students, they can't actually go on sometimes to the next area until they've answered these questions. So there's the learning on the way as they go, that they have, they have to stop and answer questions, which I think is great, is that there's that review along the way as you work. So, there's the wrong answer, so they have to try again. So I think that is very important, that people understand what they got wrong as well. So having that multiple access to lectures all the time is very, very important with students, so that they can, not just move on, they understand why they got it wrong. As well as we have embedded videos, pre-assessments, post-assessments, different things like that for students to access. So sorry, I wish I could have flipped my camera, but I think that's very important with those online accessibilities, is that, I can watch it multiple times. I am a learner that I need to see it, I need to do it, I need to read it, I need to hear it. I'm a multi-level learner myself, so we try and implement that with our lessons with our students, because there is a diversity of learning and we really need to push for that. Just like they talked about in the TED Talk with the female artist, it's not just lecture based anymore, right? We need to really be adaptable, and I think technology is a great way to do it. We just have to err on caution, or we have to be cautious about how we're implementing it, just to make sure that it is accessible for everybody. Thank you.